I like video games, but they all gotta end at some point. Whether it be the most beautiful ending you've ever seen, or actual dog poo-poo. If your game has a story, it'll probably end at some point. Unless of course that game is Genre Sim, which arguably barely even started in the first place. But some games are special, and include multiple endings. A game well known for this is the Silent Hill franchise, which is a series I've recently gotten really into. I really enjoy the game's atmosphere, the story, the characters, and the dialogue. Even if some of that dialogue has some interesting delivery.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Though that's not what I'm going to be discussing today. Instead, we're going to be looking at all 37 of the endings in each Silent Hill game. Kinda. At least all the mainline games. So no Short Message or Book of Memories. And if Silent Hill 2 Remake has included a new ending or something, I haven't finished it, so I don't know. But if there isn't, then this kind of looks a bit stupid, so ignore it, please. Also, an important thing to clarify is that I've only played the first 4 Silent Hill games, so I'm not as experienced with the others as I will be with the first 4. I've researched the other games, I've looked into them, I've watched plenty of videos about them. I don't have a life, I have a lot of time to do that stuff. That's not entirely true. So I am confident in talking about it from a story perspective, so anything gameplay related won't be discussed during the rankings. Also, another side note, the footage used in this video is from the YouTube channel Silent Hill Memories. They're a great channel. They also did the walkthrough guides for the games that I used while playing them, because I'm dumb. Also, the gameplay footage used is from Vinny Vinesource's streams, and I couldn't find the Silent Hill Origins endings on the Silent Hill Memories channel, so I got them from the channel Tomb Evil. So thanks to them, links are all in the description. With that all out of the way, let's get started with the 37th place, and what I consider to be the worst ending in all of Silent Hill.
Disappointment in the game of life!
Am I allowed to do that? Please don't sue me, Schaefer Ellis. You all probably expected this. I don't like shitting on games I haven't played. It feels like I'm just agreeing with what other people say and not forming my own opinion. However, Silent Hill Homecoming is the exception. I really don't like this ending, it's dookie. Pyramid Head shouldn't be here in the first place. I know Alex Shepard has some parallels to James Sunderland, mainly killing a loved one, but we all know the real reason it was included. It's because it's Pyramid Head, and Pyramid Head is iconic. Also, why is he jacked now? And where did his clothes go? Does the Pyramid Head just do that? I know that everything in Silent Hill is supposed to be literal, but come on, this is very goofy. But the main complaint about this ending is that it doesn't feel satisfying at all. I don't care if he becomes Pyramid Head, because what does that even mean? What does he do now? If I was 13, I'd probably think this was awesome. But the problem is, 13-year-olds are stupid, especially if they're me. You know, I love stories where it turns out that in the end, none of it actually happened. It isn't dumb or lazy at all. It's actually really deep and smart. I'm very smart. Believe me! And there was foreshadowing. It was that the kind of spooky shit doesn't happen in real life. It totally makes sense, as long as, you don't think about every other Silent Hill game. Did the other games also take place inside of Alex's mind? Did he give his delusions lore? Or did he just happen to have delusions that somehow line up with the other Silent Hill games? Though, the main takeaway is the ass dialogue that is so on the nose that it might as well be the nose.
Wait, what are you doing? Was this a dream? I didn't go anywhere?
No, Alex. And you won't be going anywhere until you can start to accept reality and responsibility.
I love the Silent Hill UFO endings. They're so much fun, and add a nice silly contrast to how the games usually are. That's why I want to talk about my appreciation for them, and it's Homecoming again. God damn it. This ending doesn't even bother with being silly. There's nothing funny about it. The only joke here is my life. Now, this one's just confusing. Alex's dad and brother are both supposed to be dead. So does this take place prior to the events of the game? Or an alternate world where Alex doesn't own his own brother with facts and logic? It does make sense why they're killing him, but it doesn't really work as an ending. It just feels rushed. In fact, most of these endings do. They're very short and don't really have anything to say. For most of the endings, it's just, wouldn't it be fucked up if this happened? And yeah, I guess. I wouldn't want to get head from a pyramid or get put in a bath by an old man either. But it really felt like they didn't have a plan for how they wanted to conclude the story. Okay, I swear this wasn't intentional. Homecoming just has no good endings. I would like to play every Silent Hill game at some point. It's entirely possible I will end up loving this game. But as of right now, I think the game looks dookie. This ending is somehow the best of them all. It's certainly not god-awful. I quite like the music used in the scene, and that's where my compliments end. It just feels like the game is over now. Alex gets his government-mandated white woman, and they leave. Everything's fine. The child murderer got over it. Good for him. I don't really like it when, depending on what ending you get, changes the events that happened prior to the start of the game. It just feels kinda lazy. Even Homecoming was mostly consistent with Alex killing his brother. In the execution ending though, they changed it so that Murphy did kill his son, which doesn't really make sense. Why'd Murphy try to kill Napier at the start of the game, if in this ending we can assume that he didn't do anything to Murphy's son? Not that I'm complaining though, you can kill that fucking nonce any day. But yeah, this ending doesn't feel too satisfying. I do fuck with endings where the protagonist dies, but this time I really didn't get what they were trying to say with it. I know it may be surprising to see an ending from the first Silent Hill game so low on the list, and don't get me wrong, Silent Hill 1 is a phenomenal game, however, I really don't like this ending. Whereas you could argue that this is the bad ending, and so obviously you get a bad result, but I find the execution to be lacking, and the twist that Harry was dead the whole time, while shocking, doesn't add much, and goes back to what I said earlier about changing the events of the game because of what ending you get. This ending, while not too bad, doesn't hit the same as some of the others. Murphy just sort of leaves and just says there's somewhere he's gotta be. It's a bit vague. I wouldn't be surprised if he just ends up back in prison. Though Anne is still consumed by the idea of revenge, which is a nice touch, showing that not everything has a pleasant ending, especially since Silent Hill is a horror series and should leave some mystery. The biggest issue I have is just that Murphy's story is left a bit too open-ended for my taste. I will say, this ending is properly creepy in its tone and atmosphere, though I don't exactly like what it's going for. I went to look at what others online thought about this ending, and they seemed just as confused as I was, especially since the good ending of this game ties the game up really well. It's decently foreshadowed in the game that Travis could potentially be a serial killer, but at the same time, I prefer to see Travis as just a normal guy with a bit of a troubled past. This shit is so goofy, but it's intentionally goofy. Even if it's a little strange for a Silent Hill ending, I kinda like it. Though some of the comments on the video are weird. Like, no, Harry isn't Sigma for this. It's supposed to show how much of a weird douchebag he is. The fact that he's recording this using his daughter's camera really emphasizes that he is the titular sleaze in Sleaze and Sirens.
No, dedications are always to my wife and daughter. It's only fair.
Man, shut your bitch ass!
I'm putting these together because they're the same ending, just for two different characters. Both Murphy and Anne are unable to change, so they're unable to escape, and are continued to be haunted by the one they killed. For Murphy it's Coleridge, and for Anne it's Murphy. They're simple endings, satisfying enough, though they are a bit short. This one's just kind of upsetting. Going from Cheryl's happy memories of her father, to him being a drunk asshole demanding that his child get him another beer, and then proceeding to blame his drinking problem on his family. It's honestly hard to watch. This one is another upsetting ending, but I think it does a slightly better job than the previous one. First of all, I feel more sympathy for Harry in this one, and I feel even worse for Cheryl, who has to witness this fight between her parents. Seeing Dahlia yell and assault Harry, then watching Harry look up at his daughter, where his facial expression in that moment conveys so much emotion. The shock, the shame, the embarrassment. There's all quite a lot to unpack for such a short ending. This is definitely the best proper ending to Downpour. It resolves the story nicely, having Murphy and Anne making amends, and even letting Murphy escape to hopefully have a better life. Though a lot like the Truth and Justice ending, it's a little unclear where he's gonna go. I like how Murphy is portrayed as a good but troubled person. Bad things have happened to him, and he's made mistakes that have led to other bad things happening. But you can still understand him and what he's been through. That's why I like seeing him get this happy ending. I find this ending improves a lot on the regular bad ending, since it doesn't have that bogus twist at the end, where it turns out Harry was dead the whole time. Instead, the ending still feels bleak. but with a slight glimmer of hopefulness since Sybil is still alive and tells Harry to leave before the camera zooms away, leaving it vague if they escape the town or not. The failure of not being able to save your daughter actually feels impactful because you actually put in the effort, and it was real, so the failure and impact of that also feels real. I really like how this ending is presented more than anything. Having it be from Henry's perspective is just like the apartment sections of the game that are all in the first person. It works as a way of showing that despite everything, Henry failed to save Eileen and is back where he started. It really gives off a sense of hopelessness, though the way Henry says Eileen at the end does make me laugh a little.
Eileen.
I'm grouping these two together since they're basically the same, the only main difference being that Sybil lives in one and not the other. I'd probably rank the one where she lives a bit higher, just because I like Sybil. She's cool, but I don't really have a big preference on which one I prefer. I like seeing Lisa kill Kaufman, he definitely deserves it, especially if you take Origins into account. The music is great too, it gives a somber yet comforting feeling. It's all finally over, and though it's not perfect, Harry is given another chance at fatherhood, and is able to escape Silent Hill. It doesn't hurt that these are pretty much the canon endings. I don't usually care about arguing over which endings are canon, because it doesn't really matter. Whichever ending you prefer is canon, but in this case it's kinda hard to argue against due to Silent Hill 3 existing. But we'll talk more about that game soon, and by soon, I mean now. Maybe a bit controversial, but I quite like this ending. Its creepiness is effective, and I like the idea that Heather's desire for revenge drove her to kill Douglas in the end. Though that's just my interpretation, as this is quite a vague ending. Though it wouldn't make sense for her to want to kill Douglas. After all, he did work for Claudia, whether he truly understood the repercussions or not. Though it's sad to see, since at this point we've come to like Douglas, so seeing Heather kill him is quite the emotional gut punch. Speaking of emotional gut punches, Love Lost feels so real the way it's laid out, and how the characters talk, with Harry trying to comfort and reassure his daughter. Even the way he asks Cheryl not to film it hits like a brick to the face. It makes me think about my parents' divorce, which is crazy because my parents never got divorced. This is a really solid ending. It doesn't hurt that it's the one most people consider canon since it ties into the first Silent Hill. Travis completes his goal and is able to leave Silent Hill with a smile on his face, resetting his odometer, representing him starting anew after coming to terms with the traumatic events of his past. Who needs therapy when you got a fucked up town and a cool truck? Now, the one thing I like more than a satisfying ending is a funny one. Sure, it's a little fanservice with the dog showing up, but also all the UFO endings kind of are. It also makes sense for the dog to show up since no other characters like Harry or James have encountered the aliens yet. The style is also cool. It reminds me of the old kind of comics you'd find online back in the day. But most importantly, the ending is funny.
Can I drive? You drive, Stick?
This ending is certainly one of the strangest in Silent Hill 2, though my least favourite overall. It's effectively creepy, showing James' desperation that has led him this far, rowing his wife's corpse out to an island to perform some weird ritual. The way he speaks is downright eerie and off-putting, whilst we're left wondering if he succeeds in reviving Mary, though the fact he sounds so deprived doesn't make it seem likely. I've grouped these two together since they're basically the same. I like how Henry solemnly walks back into the outside world for the first time in ages. He then goes to see Eileen. He even brings her flowers because he's a real gentleman. Eileen jokingly says that she needs to find a new place to live. In this economy? Even the haunted apartment's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, and that's unrelated to all the hauntings. Though in the mother ending, she says she's going back to the apartment. Some say it's because she's still a bit possessed, I say it's because she's financially responsible. But they show us the apartment again, and it's all spooky. I kinda like the mother ending more. I like having some of the evil still lingering, which gives it a bit more mystery to the ending, and totally not just because it's the one I got when I played the game. I also noticed that you can kind of see the locks still back on the door. What could this mean? Did they just not have a modeled out version of the room with the locks broken? Probably. This ending is sad and messed up. I love it. It's probably one of the more effective bad endings. The only person who's happy in the end is Kid Walter, and I gotta say, very easy to please child. But adult Walter is what I find so fascinating. He just stands there and stares at the floor as the news report is played in the background. This bad ending is even bad for him. Despite everything he believed, he wasn't able to get his mother back. He's murdered so many people at this point, all for this one goal, and it didn't work. I can't help but feel a little bad for him due to being manipulated ever since he was a kid. Though I don't feel that bad. Murder is bad after all, unless it's of course really funny. The original, the one that started it all. I find it hilarious that even when meeting the aliens, Harry is still asking if they've seen his daughter, What a great dad. No aliens are gonna stop him from doing what he's gotta do. Though he does end up getting zapped and abducted. His facial expression is quite amusing to look at too. Overall, a very iconic ending and a trendsetter. Also, very funny song. Another one. I really like the art style of this one. It's cute and kinda anime build. Kaufman losing it and Cheryl saying,
"This whole town, it's really a giant spaceship."
Then motherfucking James Sunderland pulls up, and that's the guy from Resident Evil. Then the dog says her mother was a bitch, which isn't wrong, I suppose. And now Kaufman's an alien, so sure, why not? I find this one to be really sweet. First thing I want to mention is the song Hippie Monsters by Ed Harcourt. It's really good and I find it really fits Silent Hill's tone, especially Downpour. It feels very melancholy with a hint of eeriness in there. But the main thing about this ending is that it's a birthday surprise. The characters from Downpour and some from the other games show up, like Heather and James. Then he appears, Pyramid Head. And honestly, this is fun. I like the inclusion of Pyramid Head in this. It's obviously an ending that's not meant to be taken seriously, and if anyone's gonna cut the cake, it should be him. It's also funny how they all laugh about him cutting the table in half. Like, oh, classic Pyramid Head. This is quite the beautiful ending, especially since this was the last proper Silent Hill game for over a decade. This is what is considered to be the bad ending of Silent Hill 2. Though I don't really think Silent Hill 2 has a good or bad ending. They all have a tinge of sadness to them no matter what. Though this ending shows James succumbing to his desires, forgetting all about Mary and moving on to Maria. It's another ending where James comes off as creepy, and the way he says,
You'd better do something about that cough.
seems generally mean. He doesn't want to deal with what he went through with Mary again, and he seems to get generally mad at Maria for being sick. Just a pretty messed up ending, though the credit song is one of the best songs in the series. Okay, time to get silly with it again. Although this ending is made in the style of an old black and white movie, the cherry on top though is Harry showing up, still in his PS1 graphical style, asking James if he has seen his daughter, which James just responds by asking if he's seen his wife, before getting zapped and taken away by the aliens. This ending is so whimsical, I can't help but have a big stupid grin on my face every time I watch it. This ending works after the conclusion of both Silent Hill 1 and 2's UFO endings, with Harry living with both James and the alien. That's right, Heather gets 3 dads. Though Harry sounds a bit different.
Poor little Cheryl. I can't believe that.
Despite this, he's finally ready to kick some silent ass. The aliens use their UFOs to destroy the town once and for all, before singing the Silent Hill song. This ending has my favourite style of the UFO endings, the funniest credit song, and it's a very satisfying conclusion to the UFO endings. If you've seen any video game related top 10 lists, you've probably seen this ending. I'm not going to elaborate why I like this one so much. It's a fucking dog.
お前の仕業だったのか?
This is arguably the best outcome in Silent Hill 2. James coming to terms with what he's done, not really forgiving himself, but leaving Silent Hill a changed man. It's also nice to see Laura get out too, even if she was never in any real danger. A common interpretation is that James adopts Laura after this, which I like to agree with. James carrying out Mary's last wish to adopt Laura shows that he's trying to do better and carry on his wife's memory. Though overall, this is a very mysterious ending. We don't know what happens to James after this, but maybe that's for the best. This one is definitely the most depressing Silent Hill ending. If you don't want to hear about suicide, then just skip to the time on screen. This ending was the one I got when I first played Silent Hill 2. I find it's the one where Mary's letter hits the hardest. It's clear in her words that Mary really loved James, and she wouldn't have wanted this for him. When the watery background fades to black and Mary says James made her happy, it really puts a full stop on what is one of the most gut-wrenching games ever. Now, I don't want to get too personal in this video, but I do genuinely relate to this ending in a way. I often worry about losing loved ones, sometimes not knowing what I would do without them, and even contemplating doing terrible things. I don't want anyone watching this to worry or feel bad for me. I'm in a good place right now, and though I have my issues obviously, I'm currently doing pretty good in life. Though, enough about me obviously. This is a heartbreaking ending that makes me unbelievably sad, which is also why it's perfect for Silent Hill 2.
James, you made me happy.
Silent Hill 3 is my favorite game in the entire series. It only has 3 endings, which is less than the previous 2. I believe this isn't really a flaw, because the ending of this game is perfect to me. It perfectly concludes the story of Silent Hill 3, as well as its first game, with Heather deciding to go by Cheryl from now on, despite her revenge not bringing her closure over her father's death. She realizes now that she can only keep moving forward. Heather is still a teenager and deserves to live a normal life. Her scaring Douglas as a joke shows that she's still herself, and no one can change that. The entire game, people have been telling Heather who she should be and what she should do, so having her finally decide that only she gets to decide who she is a great ending. And who she wants to be is Cheryl, her father's daughter. Plus, her final line is an absolute iconic banger.
I don't know. Don't you think blondes have more fun?
So that's my list. It took some time to make, but I'm quite satisfied with it. Though I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you agree with the list? What's your favorite ending? Feel free to tell me in the comments below, or to enlighten me as to why I'm wrong and dumb. Just consider liking and subscribing whilst you're down there. I'm currently working on a pretty big project right now, so I wanted to make this whilst I'm working on that to keep you all entertained. So keep your eyes out for that when it comes out, hopefully by this year. Though I'm currently really busy with college work, so please bear with me. I won't lie, I'm a little worried about how to end this video. If it's not a good ending, then I'll look like a fraud, and this will all have been for nothing. So I just gotta make sure this is the best ending that's ever.